Scotty Bro, man, I'm here live at the finish line in Baradero, Argentina. After stage 13, it's Sue Mead in the Ford Raptor, totally bone stock, very few mods. Sue, it's basically the first woman to finish the Dakar, and also first Americans to win class in this class.
First in class, yeah. First in open.
And today I'm going to talk to my friend and colleague who has done something special, a lot of things special. And she is Sue Mead, and most recently she drove a Raptor, a wonderful Ford pickup truck in the Dakar and won her class. I'm really impressed with what you did. Now tell me what it was exactly.
The Dakar Rally is known as one of the 5 top adventures on the planet. It's also the world's longest and most grueling motorsports race. It was 6,000 miles, starting and ending in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Now, Buenos Aires is a long way from Dakar, that being, what, the capital of Senegal. And it used to be in Africa, right? It started out, what, in the late 70s as the Paris-Dakar. Everybody started in Paris and ended up in Dakar.
The rally actually started after Terry Sabine, a motorcyclist, got lost in the Libyan desert on a rally in 1977, and he became enthralled with desert racing. So he came up with this idea of asking motor enthusiasts to begin a rally in Paris. And of course it involved a transfer at some point by boat and ended up in Dakar, Senegal. And it gained great notoriety around the world.
Now I think it's great that they have transferred it to South America for safety reasons, right?
That's right. I think you know that I did the rally for the first time in 2000, so 11 years ago. And I was a navigator, or co-pilot, as they say, for Darren Skilton. And that year during the rally, there were terrorists hiding out in the Sahara Desert who wanted to do harm to us. So we had to be airlifted to Libya for safety, which was a bit of a strange thing as an American. We weren't even allowed to go to Libya at that point. But really it was in 2008 when the rally was going to begin in Lisbon and in Dakar as well, that Al-Qaeda terrorists did harm and actually killed some French tourists and some of the Mauritania military. And at that point, the rally was called to a close. So in 2009, after Argentina and Chile asked the rally organizers to consider using their four-wheel drive tracks and coming to their countries, the rally began there in South America.
But the nice thing is, the name Dakar has such a history and such a sound. There are bones in it, and it's just really a wonderful word. And it really now, it has nothing to do with Senegal anymore, except a memory. But the name now has become to mean spirit of this kind of rash event, because it really is, they call it, what, a super raid or something like that?
Right, a raid,
yeah.
Which does mean a rally, but it's an extreme rally.
Yeah.
When I was on my way this year, for the first time, I looked up on the rally website what competitors needed to know before going, and in the meantime, I'm fast forwarding, I was going as the driver of record, and I was sitting in Dulles Airport with snow coming down, wondering if I was even going to get out that evening, when I looked at the competitor website and I read that only those with extreme fitness should enter this rally. And I realized that kind of crossed me off the list, and that there was a great danger in participating, and that I could expect injury or perhaps to be killed. And I remember thinking, what am I doing sitting in this airport waiting to go?
The people that organize it, or you said they organize, you told me, the Tour de France as well.
That's right.
Tour de France bicycle.
Correct.
And that takes an enormous amount of organizational skills.
The ASO organization, which is based in Paris, France, and does put on Tour de France, And I really commend the level of expertise that they have in setting up events in general. But in particular, to set up an off-road rally requires not only your start and your finish and all of the organization for the racers and the scrutineering of the vehicles and all of the requirements, which have been updated each year, but it also involves laying out a course.
Now tell me about the way the thing was run. So you start out in Buenos Aires. What, at night start, day start, what?
A day start, and very early in the day on New Year's Day. What a way to start your new year.
Oh boy.
And motorcycles go off the line first, followed by ATVs, hopefully getting the fastest of them clear before the fastest of the autos come. And as with your racing, we're all seeded according to our experience and perhaps wins. Darren and I were really proud that we were 174th off the line and we placed 40th overall. But also many were knocked out along the way. But you begin in day, and the first day was only 250 miles to our encampment. And there was much excitement and we just couldn't wait to get going the next day until we really began racing. And there were 6 days of racing before we had one rest day. And what we noticed was that the organization is clearly giving very difficult long days once you get clear of Buenos Aires. I think in hopes to clear the pack a bit. And And so those first days were extremely difficult and extremely long.
Sort of shake them out, the ones that are, the loose ones fall to.
Exactly. And by the halfway point, you have half the competitors. We were about 430 teams that went off the start. And by the halfway point, about half, a little more than half, were still there.
Well, now, did you, you had stops every night then?
Yes.
After, say, how many hours?
Our shortest day of racing was perhaps 7 hours, 6 to 7 hours, let's say. And that can be due to the terrain, yeah, or no breakdowns or not getting stuck. But our longest day of racing was about 22 hours. And we had 2 hours sleep in the middle of the desert, and then we had to begin again. And so in a 48-hour period of time, we were actually, believe it or not, racing for 46 of the 48 hours.
So you swapped off driver. Now you were the lead driver, and that you were what they called driver of
record.
Driver of record. And this is your first time that you have been driver of record and not just a tag-along journalist or a navigator or whatever. Mm-hmm. Wow.
It was really exciting. I spent the last 10 years after doing the Dakar with Darren doing some other off-road races like the Baja 1000. And I must say I began to develop this dream that became a goal that I could become a driver of record in the Dakar Rally. And of course, at that time, it was Dakar that I was thinking about. And over time, I really started to think, why not?
You said you knew what truck you wanted. What truck did you want, and how come you came to that decision?
Well, first I'll say I've driven every off-road vehicle, every truck and SUV marketed in the United States and many from beyond over the last 22 years going into Dakar, and taken many on extreme expeditions. Land Rover vehicles, Jeep vehicles, many really tough vehicles. But when I met the Ford Raptor in the Anza Borrego desert, I really did fall in love with the truck. What I liked about it is that it's a stock production F-150. It's 7 inches wider, it's taller, it has bigger tires. But it has been built, engineered to go fast, and really go fast, to do desert racing. And there was nothing like it, there still is nothing like it, that is a stock truck that you could drive to work and then go desert racing with on the weekends.
Here you are out in the very core of nowhere, and yet they were keeping tabs on you. How did they do that?
Well, I have one very funny story. We were literally in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden this French accented voice said, "Race 374, hello, hello," and I couldn't, it made no sense to me, so I said to Darren, "Is your cell phone on?" And that made no sense because there was no cell coverage. And Darren said, "No." And then this voice spoke from above and said, "We are looking for Moto 79. Moto 79 has
a motorcycle.
Motorcycle has pulled its distress beacon. Please advise. Let us know immediately if you see Moto 79 immediately." And we knew also that that would mean, should we find this person, that we would be required to stop and help. One of the things I truly love about the Dakar is that you will not only be penalized, you will not come back if you pass up an accident or anyone in need of help. And now they have worked out a wonderful system whereby you have a button in your car that you push and you say, "I am helping someone," and usually you might be calling that in. They make note of the time. And then when you push the button a second time and resume, that time is deducted from your race day.
Well, now you said too, the way they know that you have been to a checkpoint, I mean, they don't have someone sitting out there in the desert checking you as you go by. How do they know that you have made that particular checkpoint?
Well, that's another new or updated system that's really wonderful. It's kind of like going through the checkout line in the supermarket and the data code on something pings into the computer and tells the price. Well, Dakar has found a way to enter a series of navigation and waypoints, if you will, throughout the course of a day. There could be, a small number would be 10. A longer rally day would have 20 or 30 waypoints that you must hit along your route. And in the past, when we were in Africa, we had to be within a 2-kilometer distance to get the first ping, and that ping says you're within 2 kilometers. You're within 2 kilometers of where you need to arrive. Now it's 800 meters. And
so you have to be really,
you have to be very precise. And that was another place where Darren was a tremendous help to me. He taught me something called, he calls it GPS eyes. We started off one stage where immediately we were ascending a gigantic sand dune. And I believe we were maybe 45th off the line. Well, there must have been, I think I counted 12 vehicles rolled over, stuck in the sand.
That's encouraging.
And trying to get up this dune. So as we began, I said, "Oh, what are we going to do?" All I have is course notes that say a heading of 20 degrees, say. So I have the navigational equipment, and our first waypoint, Darren, is, I think, 2 kilometers out. It's about 1 kilometer to the base of this dune, and then this kilometer up and over. So immediately we think, we must ascend the dune. No, we begin to ascend the dune, and halfway up it, Darren slaps himself on the head and says, "Oh, we have GPS eyes. I have GPS eyes." Because we're looking at the GPS and it says that the point is here across the dune. Right. So we're thinking we must go there.
Yeah.
All of a sudden he said, "Watch us." And he went around the base of the dune. And so now we're no longer on a 20-degree heading, but we're here, but we came around the back and we pinged at the bottom of the dune and left many people literally in our dust. And that's one of the reasons that we moved from a very high number as we started off and were able to place 40th overall.
Were you ever close to figuring you were out of it?
You know, the time that we were stuck with our back end into the sand, I knew that we needed help to get out. We could not get out. And we were also completely exhausted and reaching a point of just really overheating. And we had a lot of miles to go. So it was a difficult situation. I counted 16 vehicles in this valley in the middle of nowhere. And Darren and I we weren't going to give up. We knew we couldn't go into it, and we knew we had to get out over this pass. So we began riding up and down the ridge of this final lip of dunes. And it was dangerous. And Darren said to me, the only time he said it in the rally, "I need you to know that this is very dangerous." And I thought, it's been dangerous since Dulles Airport. We could be killed now because in the dark, we could go off anything. You can't get out every moment and check, is the dune undercut? So we tried to get to another location to get out, and we got stuck on the lip of a sand dune, and we spent at least an hour getting our truck unstuck. And by the time we did, I was shaking with the chill of the night. When the sun came up, I can't even tell you how joyous it was to see light. So we made it. We made it. It was really a feat. Our greatest hope was to get this truck and our 5-person team across the finish line.
To finish the thing at all is an accomplishment. But to be first, I mean, when I was racing, I always said, well, the fun of it is in racing, that whatever you finish, the fun is racing. And then I started winning. I said, what was I talking about?
From everyone in the U.S., thank you for doing this, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sue Mead, thank you very much for sharing your experiences with the Dakar and the Raptor, and I hope you have many more happy experiences.